Welcome back. The Invisible Coup. That is the name of author Peter Schweizer's new book and how he describes immigration in the United States. Schweizer alleges so-called American elites, that's his terminology, and foreign powers are using immigration as a weapon to in part change the demographics of our country. Earlier, I spoke with him about the book. Take a listen. Let's start with the title, Peter. Why do you use the word coup, and do you mean that figuratively or literally?
I mean it figuratively, but what I mean essentially is that there are political implications, national security implications for mass migration, particularly when you look at the motivations of some of those foreign entities behind it, meaning China, the Mexican government, the Muslim Brotherhood, and others. Their intention is for this mass migration and the activism accompanying it to have serious political repercussions inside the United States.
And the word invisible, I read the book, and if I understand the book correctly, it's not so much that you think it's invisible. You quote people who speak in public forums all over the place. If I understand the book correctly, it's not being seriously addressed, meaning it's sort of being ignored or overlooked. It's not its invisibility, it's the problem, if I read the book correctly. It's that no one's doing anything about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's well said. It's invisible in the sense that the political networks and the strategy behind this is not apparent to people. We've had a national conversation, I think an important one, on immigration, what the level should be as it relates to economics, as it relates to violent crime. What we've not had is a conversation about the weaponization of immigration and what these foreign entities are doing. That's the part that is invisible.
Let me ask you about parts of the book that spend a great deal of time talking about the number of Mexican consulates in this country, their affiliation and relationships with progressive groups in America, voting implications. And as you know, Pew Research doesn't just take exit poll data from elections, but then they compare it to actual vote tabulations, and their final assessments are some of the best in the business. 2016, Trump got 28% of the Latino vote. 2020, he got 36%. 2024, he got 48% of the Latino vote. 37 million Mexicans live in this country, are part of the Latino population. That's 60%. So that trajectory tells me, or suggests to me at least, Peter, that among Mexican-born Latinos living in America who vote, they went consistently for Trump, which means this attempt to create a political coup didn't really work.
Well, it hasn't worked as they've wanted it to, but it's not for a lack of trying. And my point is, we need to understand Mexico has 53 consulates in the United States. The UK and China have 6 and 7 respectively. Massive number. And as I lay out in the book, and I name the officials, these consular officials who are diplomats are engaged in supporting political activities, trying to affect presidential elections. So they may not have the complete success they hope to, but it's not for a lack of trying. What you're also seeing, by the way, is a generational shift. The studies show really since the 1990s that among new voters, people that have just gotten citizenship, they break 80 to 85% for Democrats, but that changes over time. 20 years later, it gets closer to 50-50. What is key is that 20-year gap where there's a huge advantage. So the political implications are real. It's not perfect, but I think it's inappropriate for the Mexican government and their diplomats to be engaged in this kind of political activity inside the United States.
You talk late in the book about Zoran Mamdani, who, when the book was being written, was the primary winner in the New York mayoral primary. He's now the mayor of New York. And you say he's a kind of embodiment of some of this effort to influence American outcomes. When Zoran Mamdani stood next to President Trump was asked if he was a danger, if he had any unsavory relationships, and President Trump said, no, I think he's a very fine man. Is Trump missing this?
Well, I think a lot of people don't understand the full international nature of what Mamdani represents and the people that were cheering for him. I was surprised about this, too. As I point out in the book, Mamdani's campaign was tracked in Iran. It was tracked by organizations in the Middle East. You had a newspaper tied to Hezbollah, the terrorist organization in Lebanon, cheering on the campaign and saying it'll be great if Mamdani wins because not only is mayor of New York, but as a political future. And they speculated that, he could become the Secretary of Homeland Security. Now, why would a terrorist organization want that? I think we all kind of know. I'm not implying or saying that Mamdani is tied to Hezbollah, but clearly these Muslim activist groups like the Muslim Brotherhood, like the Iranian government, like what they see in Mamdani, there are entities in the United States that are, let's say, sympathetic to those causes who gave to Mamdani's campaign. It's something that deserves scrutiny, I think, simply because of the international nature that his campaign symbolizes.
Peter, Ronald Reagan used to have a phrase when he was asked about support from sectors of American politics like the John Birch Society. He would say, just because they support me doesn't mean I support them. In the case of Mamdani, would that fly with you?
No, I don't think it does. I mean, we'll have to see, right? We'll have to see what positions he's taken. I think certainly some of his appointees have raised controversy. But the bottom line is this is a strategy that they speak about openly, the Muslim Brotherhood and mullahs. I quote them extensively in the book. They believe, because most American voters are so apathetic, if they achieve even 10 or 12% of the population in a given locale, they can swing an election to a candidate that is sympathetic for their cause. Mamdani is an example that they cite. Let's see what he does as mayor to see how happy they are with his election.
The book is The Invisible Coup, How American Elites and Foreign Powers Use Immigration as a Weapon by Peter Schweizer. Peter, I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thanks, Major.